love the title that the YMCA Academy has chosen for today. It's partly art, partly science, with a necessity on focusing on abilities rather than disabilities. So I have to agree with Garth on that. I don't have any expertise in the field of neuroscience, as these other folks have, but I've been teaching for almost 25 years, and I have a particular interest in what the arts can do for learning. So as educators, you know that we take what we know about science of learning and we weave it into an artful practice that we call teaching. And I do love school. That's not working. Okay, thanks. I'm just going to stay here. Or rather, I should say I love learning. I think that there's such an important distinction that we need to make between school and learning. It's great when schools become really amazing learning spaces, but we can't pretend to suggest that just by building a school, excellent learning is going to happen. Any more than we could believe that just by building a library and filling it with books, that reading would happen. We design environments for learning, don't we? And then we know that there are a lot of variables that can either promote opportunities for learning or extinguish them. And very often we're also parents. So in my family, we've had some experiences with helping one of our boys understand about his learning profile with the help of some very supportive teachers and some excellent experts in psychological assessment. A relative weakness in working memory has meant that we've learned about what the best approaches are. But you'd be really hard-pressed to find in school records a difference from my two boys, so I'm thinking that's a wonderful thing. There have been some important discussions emerging in education in the past few years. We've been talking about important stuff. How many of our students with learning disabilities are in trouble. How the curriculum is huge and possibly not all that relevant to our students. And how assessment in general is not nearly as authentic as it needs to be. Teaching strategies are antiquated. It's the 21st century, after all. But I would have to say that I think it's more desperate than that. Many children are suffering, not just our students with LDs. In this global age, when we have more access than ever before to people and resources and information and technology, do you see a passion in our children? Where are our young activists who fight injustice? What are the talents of the students you work with? Do you even know? Do they even know what their talents are? So I guess the big question that I have is how can we change the culture of school so that we have a growth mindset for all of our learners? And really I mean everybody in the building, including teachers. Can we have that growth mindset? So the funny thing is that everybody agrees with this. We say we want creative, passion-driven, critically thinking students, and yet we continue to reward the opposite. Compliance, obedience, memorization, regurgitation. In the words of Dr. Phil, I have to ask, how's that working for you? Pablo Picasso said, all children are born artists. The problem is to keep them artists as they grow up. And let's change that up for a second then. This is where I need your help. What are the things that we could put in that blank? Scientists. They're born scientists. Actors, musicians, poets, creative, writers, right? You get the idea. Curious, inquisitive, engaged. So it's interesting, not just Picasso has talked about this. Neil Postman in the 60s said that students come into school as question marks, and then they leave as periods. They start out as these amazing learning machines who have mastered walking, talking, understanding emotions, reading body language, learning from their environment. It's incredible, really. What happens to those powerful explorers? Angela Myers notices the curiosity of kindergarten students. So what happens to that curiosity? Does it just disappear? Do we lose this as we age? We have these wonderfully inquisitive, social, learning, caring beings that come into school at age 4 or 5, and then we're taking courses to learn how to engage the 12 to 14-year-old learner later on. Think about how many books are being written about engagement today. So if we're really honest, Shouldn't we be calling this re-engagement? They were there, engaged, ready, excited. I think it's time we took some responsibility in making school a place where we work from strengths, not weaknesses. Now, luckily, schools are filled with teachers and parents who love kids, and they really want to do what's best for them. So I'd like to suggest 2 things that we could do to keep a growth mindset for all of our learners, regardless of their learning abilities. I've been following the work of Heidi Hayes Jacobs in curriculum21.org. You should check it out. Jacobs talks about finding the whelm for our students. So this is so intriguing, isn't it? We know about overwhelm, and we know about underwhelm, but how many students are really experiencing the whelm? That is, to build up, to flow and heap up abundantly. I first heard about the concept of flow from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, that state where time flies, where you're so absorbed in the moment that you're lost in it, that nothing else matters to you, and you just surface feeling the enjoyment of it all. So we could relate this state of flow to Vygotsky's talk about zone of proximal development, or Seligman's references to PERMA. Sir Ken Robinson, who we heard from earlier, says that to be involved in an aesthetic experience means to be present, to be using all of the senses, to be fully alive, deeply present in the moment. And I love the ideas from all these scholars about the idea of building up and the idea of whelm. So imagine the possibilities if our primary goal in school was to keep focused on the engagement that's present when our kids first arrive, to help them find and keep that state of whelm. Now, my husband is a really good drama teacher. I don't have empirical evidence about that, but other people tell me he's also very good. So, although my interest in education is in inquiry-based learning and project-based learning and the power of technology, I find that so many of my beliefs about learning are generally far better supported from Steve's drama program than in other areas of the curriculum. And it makes an astonishing difference for his students, especially the ones with LDs. He has numerous stories of students with severe learning disabilities who turn out to be his best and most creative set designers, lighting designers, and even exceptional ability as stage managers, which is an amazing organizational feat. So what's that all about? What can we learn from these teachers of the arts that encourages the growth mindset and that state of whelm? Can we find some general practices that should be present in every curriculum if we are teaching for deep understanding and learning that it respects individual differences? Could there be a science to this learning from the arts? So here's what David Booth says drama is the drama teacher's struggle. Listening, watching, setting up situations that will foreshadow the direction of the journey, knowing when to intervene, when to use a particular strategy to open up discussion, to move students into action, to cause them to pause, reflect, rethink, and all this without predetermining the learning, the content, the meat of the lesson. Don't we want this kind of student-centered learning for all of our students in all content areas? Drama is a strength-based approach. All contributions are valued equally in the building up of a dramatic production. The lighting, the sets, the logistics, the front of house, all are equally as important as the lead actors on the stage. And what about Vygotsky's work around social constructivism and deeper learning? Learning that transfers is learning that we've had a chance to construct and share and evaluate with feedback from others. If we could incorporate that into other areas of the curriculum, then we're moving from transmissive approaches to transformative ones. Drama enhances cognitive development by extending the repertoire of media with which to share our learning. It offers us those other modes of representation. The other thing about it is that there's usually repeated opportunities to meet the text and the characters and the ideas. Deeper meaning comes when we try to transfer our thoughts in different modes. So what I've read from the Dana Foundation seems to indicate that practice or sustained focus, especially in something really engaging to a child, can produce stronger or more efficient attention networks. Now, they've used music education in this research, but one has to wonder about the role of drama and dance. John Medina talks about a happy brain being one that's moving all the time. The arts provide a balanced focus on process and product. It's about editing and revising, not just sharing and performing. It's about discussing what would be the next steps, as there's always more to do. Art is hardly ever finished. Creating artifacts pushes us to articulate and discuss our thoughts and get feedback from others, what Seymour Papert called constructionism. One of the most important elements of drama education is that the relationships are huge. In the drama classroom, a safe, inclusive, trusting community of learning must exist. The teacher gets to know the students, both in their individual context and how they fit within the community, which is so important in helping all of our students navigate this world in which teamwork and collaborative knowledge construction is becoming the norm rather than the exception. So back to our kids. They often tell us early on what they love. They show us what brings them joy. We see what captures them, what sustains their attention, what whelms them. In my own children, who have now both started university, one is in film production, and the other one is developing a passion for anthropology and sociology. I saw those interests at 6 and 7 years of age. So let's change the culture of school. Let's embrace the strengths of the students when they enter. Let's apply what we know about best practice, the science of learning. Let's artfully engage, empower, and whelm all of our students. Thank you.